Okay, I am going to create this video. There's been a lot of talk about cache lately and you know exactly what that means. Hopefully this video will help educate. That's pretty much all I'm aiming for, so that people understand what's really going on. Uh, in your Imperium Galactic Survival folder, which is where your game is, there's a folder called Saves and a folder called Cache. Inside the cache is information about servers. Okay. New game is like a single player that I had. Orbit Test BP is a single player where I just throw out blueprints and play around with them and edit and whatnot. And the alpha ones, they seem to be all the Venatus or Venatus, however you want to say it, server. Afflicted was another server, and Unknown Skies another server. Like, doesn't even have information in it. I don't even know if I even played on there. I probably just like logged in and logged out again. Anyway, point being, so here we are. This is Alpha 10.103.250, huge ass name. That's the current one that is being saved. Then you go to Playfields, and all of these folders are the planets or moons. Moon's basically still just a planet. I live on Instagram, and Instagram has this information here. This is inside the actual cache folder. Alright, so there's no confusion. Now, the date that was last modified is important, which is the 14th of the 8th, 2019 at 4:05 p.m. Now, if we go to Adaris Moon, it's exactly the same. Now, chances are that was when the last patch was, so that's why the information was updated. More specifically, the time that I logged on after the last patch. Okay, it doesn't just update because it feels like it. You have to log in to do that. Now, the important thing is though the date. That date is, over a month ago, or almost a month ago, not over a month. All right, it's like 3 weeks roughly. So just knowing that that date is that old has got to tell you that that is not being updated constantly. Okay, if you go and dig a huge ass hole in the ground, the terrain is not being updated in the cache. The map is not being updated in the cache. All right, this stuff does not get updated by just players making changes. This will only get updated if the admin actually makes a change to the server and then it updates. So like creating Prolium, which is the new one that KDM did for PvP. If you look on the date of that one, it is the 2nd of the 9th, 2019 at 8:29. So that's the time that I would have logged in after it was created and put live on the server. Yeah, and it hasn't changed since then. We're now the 6th of the 9th, so that's like 4 days, and this information has not changed since then. Okay, now important stuff to notice: the map. The map is just a image file. It's a PNG, which is just an image file. It's only 226 kilobytes, which is so tiny in information. It's like a blink of an eye for it to download off the server. So it's really not. But this is the actual. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Okay, you got lots and lots of water. You can see where the islands are. You could even use this information to help bloody tell people where you are and whatnot. I don't know. Some people probably already do, some people don't. But anyway, all that information is stored in your cache inside your game folder. Now, I am going to create a new save. I'll probably call it cache test or test cache or something. So it's going to pop up here. So we're going to we're going to start a single player, survival, change the name of it, and we'll go cache test. Okay, this is just purely, I'm not going to bother changing anything else. Start location is ULIT, I'll remember that. And we're going to go here. Now, important thing to load up here is it'll load up the planets. When it's starting, there we go, planets, 11%. Now what it's doing at the moment is basically saving all of the cache, which is all of the planets, okay, what they look like, and the biomes, the terrain, which is your mountains up and down. That's what that is doing right now, okay. And now it's just doing structures. There won't be much because there's nothing there, so they'll just like skip ahead. There you go, 88, and we're crashing. Steer your pod, oh dear. Alright, so while that crashes, we're going to pop back over here. Cache test, so there it is there. Play fields. Now, when you only know the planet you're on and the nearest jumps, yeah? So we can probably even go here and we can have a look. So we got Joe Ladge, Athol, we're on Util, and then Sulpus, they're all there. If we go here though, and we look in play fields of the cache test, every single one is listed. Doesn't matter if you've been there or not, everything for the server is already listed. We are on Ulit. This is what the map looks like on Ulit. There's a little bit of water, not that much. Lots of mountains. You can tell that these are kind of sticking up because they're rocks. So, you know, they're going to be mountains. There's your water. That's kind of grassy areas, maybe a little bit of sand. You know, you can kind of tell what's going on just by looking at that, even though I haven't been anywhere to look at anything yet. Okay, I'm going to pop back in the game just quickly. Skip the tutorial. We don't need that crap. I'm going to take that out just because I always do. Alright, so we landed. We go here. So we landed near that water edge. All of this is blacked out. It's just basically a filter sitting over the top of what's underneath, just to say that we haven't discovered it yet. Okay. Now, I'm going to go into a program called Unity, which is what the game is actually created in. I'm going to do a 3D object sphere. That's just going to pop there. I'm going to make it bigger, just because it'll be easier to see. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Alright, now if we go over to here. Now this is the planet we're on. It is called Ulit. I'm just going to drag that into Unity, and then I'm going to drag that onto the sphere, and it'll basically do a texture, so it's making it look like that. Now when you're sitting in space or even another planet and you're looking towards this planet, this is what you see. It's not exactly the same because because the game actually does a pole thing. See how all the corners have basically pushed into the middle there, and it's different. So the game itself does that circle, so that just goes round like a cylinder instead. So if I did a cylinder, it'd probably be a better representation, but you wouldn't have that roundedness. So anyway, so that is what you see. If we click on here, so we have just basically a sphere, which is a circle, and we've put the texture on the outside. And if we go to the rotation here, basically what happens is the sphere rotates and the texture goes with it, which is the map, and that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's very simple information. It doesn't take, you know, there's no download, and you know, so that's really awesome. I like that about the game. So I'm gonna hop out of there. Now then, we've got the sun up there. Let's see if we can actually see any planets. Oh damn it, we're gonna get unlucky. There are no planets, but if there was a planet up there, we would be able to see kind of the water, maybe the color of the water and things like that, because what's rendering is that sphere with the map wrapped around the sphere. Yeah. Now I'm telling you all this because that's what's in the cache. Okay, we're going to go back here. So this is the information saved in the cache, and that does not change. Okay, that only changes if the server admins alter the planet, or they add in a new system or add in a new planet. That's the only time that changes. That will not change. That will stay the way it is. Alright. I'm going to cheat here and just go God mode so that I can zoom around a bit faster, because I'm going to show you something else. Alright, so I'm going to mark this spot where I am and try to get it as close as I can. I'm just going to put a little waypoint there, it doesn't matter. I'm going to get my tool out, I'm going to set it to dig, and I'm going to put some holes in there. Alright, now I'm changing the terrain, changing what the map looks like, but the important thing to note is the cache is not going to change, okay? The cache is exactly the same, it is not changing. Now I did this, I can see the marker there, I'm going to go over this way. Now you can see the changes to the ground. When I get to, I think it's about 200 meters, I'm going to go up a bit higher. You'll notice a change, you'll notice something, here we go. Alright, we can still see the dirt, and boom, that part disappeared a little bit further, and the other part. So that image that we can see there is what the cache looks like. Okay, so my computer at the moment is saying the cache says this map looks like that, so that's what it looks like. As you get closer to an area, the server is constantly telling you information, and it says, hey, that has changed, and we get closer, and oh look, we can see this part that changed, but not that part over there. As we get a little bit closer, then we see the other changes, yeah? So the computer that you're sitting on, the client, is being updated by the server as you get closer to areas, okay? Not the entire planet, only as you get closer to a spot. Alright, the dirt seems to be around 200 meters. If there was a base or even that little pod, it's about 1.2 kilometers, which is pretty far away. So that is when the server is telling you information about what you should see. Until then, all your computer is doing is reading the information from the cache and saying this is what it did look like when it was created. Okay, and that does not change. The cache does not change. Alright, this information about that dirt being changed, that is recorded on the server itself. And so as you get closer, the server says, hey, this has changed. Hey, this has changed. And that's why it updates the way it does. Okay. So the cache, very important, I said it a few times, does not change. Alright. So the cache information everyone has who has even been to the server just logged in has all that information sitting in their client, but it does not change unless the admin actually changes the structure. Yeah, it changes the planet, not the structure, which, you know, hardly ever happens. It's like if they introduced a new system or a new planet and stuff like that. That's the only time that's really going to be affected. I think patches, it does get affected as well. It'll update with the patch, but, you know, I can't confirm that. The devs might be able to tell you that. So 200 odd meters, that's when that starts to render the changes. Yeah, doesn't matter which direction you go, it's going to be about the same. We're going pretty much up in the air, and boom, there we go. We can go above it over this way, and oh, it's still there. Wow, look at that. It's still there when you're above, so that's cool. Oh, how do you go down? Come on. So it must update with coordinates, which is, you know, just learn that. So it's saying this position I'm in here. Oh, went too low. Okay, God mode. Is, you know, 200 odd meters. So then it'll render what's being changed that way. But if you're 200 meters in the air, it's still saying, well, you're in this position. So I'm going to tell you what's happening underneath. So there you go. That's a little bit more information that I literally just learned just by playing around like that. Okay. So important thing is to note that your terrain changes only get sent to your computer as you get in that area. So the terrain of like the top of that mountain over there, if that had been flattened, to me it would still look like a mountain until I got closer to it. So that's telling us that the information is being sent to and from the server and your computer backwards and forwards constantly. Yeah, so your location as you move around is being sent to the server, which is saying, all right, I need to load what's 200 meters that way. So that plant just appeared just there. And there's another one just appeared just there. The trees were different, I guess, because they're not harvestable by a click. They're different objects, so But anyway, that's not really the point I'm trying to get to here. Shipwreckage. Oh, there you go. I can see that shipwreckage. So that is an actual structure. And I'll get to 1.2 kilometers and then I won't see that anymore. Yeah. Okay, so all the information is going backwards and forwards, yeah? The more people you have, the more information going backwards and forwards. That's why you have server population limits. So I think the official server has like 40 as a limit or something like that. Venatus is like 200, but I don't think it's ever been an issue because it's never gotten to that. But it's people playing at the one time, not have ever played. All right, so it's people actually logged in. Now, when it comes to play fields, they've all got their own little bit of the server that they play with. Okay, so if you have absolutely everyone logged into the same play field, then that play field is going to struggle with the information going backwards and forwards, because there's a lot more information going backwards and forwards, all right, from that play field in that one allocation of the server. If you have 200 people and all 200 people were on different planets, then it probably wouldn't lag at all. But if you put all 200 people onto the one planet, it would probably struggle quite a lot. All right, so that's just something to keep in mind. Your terrain information is updating, obviously, like I said, at a couple of 100 meters. Now, if you have, like 10 people, let's just say we're all in the same CV. Okay, we're all sitting in the same CV. So all the information is being loaded at the exact same time. So as we got closer here, the information for that terrain, for that spot that needed updating, all got sent at the same time to say, this has been updated. You need to display it on your screen as being changed. That's that 200 odd meter mark. 1.2 kilometers is your structure. If there was, a humongous big ass pyramid over there, which was a structure at 1.2 kilometers, all of the information for that structure would be sent to all 10 people in the CV at the same time, which would be bandwidth strain on that particular play field. But once it's done, then the server's done that information. If you go a bit further away, then it unloads it from your computer because you've gone further, and it says, hey, I don't need to render that anymore, so I don't need to know about it, and it forgets it. And you go back again, and the server has to send the information again. And you go back and you go forward, and the server's constantly sending information backwards and forwards. And, that's the kind of thing that really crashes a planet, I guess, makes it really hard to play. But also, like this terrain, I just showed just a little tiny bit of editing on the terrain there, a little bit of digging. If this whole area was dug up, even just a little bit as you ran across it, just a little scrape off the top, every part of that digging would have to be updated from the server to your computer as you move around. At the moment, there's no updating over here, so it's not sending me any information. It's saying, you have the cache for that, so I don't need to tell you anything about over there because it hasn't changed. But this bit here, that changed, so I need to tell you about that as you move closer and as you move away and as you move closer. So the important points that I've tried to make here is The cache does not change. The cache is the information that your computer received from the server, and that doesn't change. It is there, and it is also very, very small data. If we go back to here, you're talking less than, you know, a megabyte. There's like 700 kilobytes, yeah? So, you know, that's like half a second even to transfer that information from the server to your computer anyway. So, but the point is that it's not transferring that information. That information is on the computer and it does not change. I mean, I haven't been to any of those planets, but I have them all in cache because that's what the game does. The game loads them all into cache when you first join the server, and you know, I haven't been to Cenetarok's moon, but you know, I can look at that map and I can go, wow, that's what it looks like. You know, it's not going to say that there's a vein there and the vein there, because it's literally just the image that wraps around the sphere. So when you're looking in the system, you can see that as a visual representation of that moon, and it looks cool. I think that is awesome, the way that the devs have done that. And in single player, this game works really well. It struggles in multiplayer just because I think it was designed for single player, and then they've tried to adapt it to multiplayer later, and so there's still a lot of things that are done which work performance wise for single player, but it hasn't been shifted to work for multiplayer as yet. So I hear they're working on it and they're trying to make it better, which is cool. So anyway, so the point was that, yeah, the image is just wrapped around a sphere, which is very little information. The cache doesn't change. The editing that you do, which is your digging and all that sort of stuff, that is stored on the server itself, and that is updated to your PC as you travel and move around. And yeah, so that's how it works. Okay, cache does not get loaded into your computer as you enter into the planet. The cache has already been there. It hasn't changed. You know, people keep saying that, and I try to explain it without spoon feeding, but you know, hopefully this educates people. The cache is there, it does not change. The information that does change is stored on the server, and it is sent to your PC as you get near it. So this editing is done here. If this was multiplayer and somebody else was on a completely different planet, where are we? Okay, let's just say somebody was on Athel. The changes that I'm making on ULIT, they wouldn't even know about. Alright, they could live there for 6 months, and everything that I've done to this planet, they would have no idea. It's still going to look exactly the same way it does in the cache as they're looking from there to over here, and it's turning around. Now, if they flew in their ship over to here, it would still look exactly the same while they're in orbit. When they come into orbit, and when they come into the atmosphere, onto the planet, the game would update the information around where they are, but not the stuff on the other side of the planet. That stuff will still be just what the cache says. But as they move around, as they get closer over that way, then the server will say, hey, you need to know that that needs to look like this. You need to know that that needs to look like this. And you see these pebbles that are coming up. All of that information is being sent to my computer from the server as you move around. So if this entire planet was covered in these little rocks, that is information that is being sent to me as I move around. All of the harvestable plants, that is information. All of the stuff you can blow up, that is information. Every single thing that can be changed is what is constantly being sent to your computer, not the cache. The cache does not change, okay? I think I've gone over it enough times. Hopefully this helps clear up the situation. KDM I think he's doing a good job. He's really trying. Don't get me wrong. You know, I don't have any issues with the guy as such. You know, there's little things here and there that, you know, it's like whatever. But the point is that he's trying, and things like knowing, he does know that this stuff, it affects the lag and everything. So in the new planets, he has a lot less pretty stuff, I think is the way to put it, which means that there'll be less issues with the amount of information that has to be sent to players. So what that means is that, you know, I could have a humongous pyramid sitting here. Well, not huge, but I could have a pyramid sitting here, and it won't lag as bad coming towards it if all these creatures weren't here, if all these rocks weren't here, if most of the trees weren't here, because it's information that isn't needed to be sent, you know. If you're playing single player, I'd need to beat these things up, get food, I need to get experience and all that. But if you're playing PvP, which is, you know, what the discussion is about, you don't need all that stuff. And so he hasn't been putting that stuff in the new planets. He's quite happy to tell everyone, you know, I'm not making that pretty, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that, because it will definitely help with the lag issues that people have. But again, it has absolutely nothing, zip-zero, to do with the cache. Okay, it's the amount of information that is sent from the server to your computer, which is loaded into your RAM, your random access memory, and then that information is being sent from the server, and again from the server is constantly being sent backwards and forwards to the server and your computer. So, you know, that stuff should help. And I'm going to end it here. I think I've been talking long enough. Absolutely nothing to do with cache. Oh my god, stop talking about the cache. Okay, that's it.